So inshallah, this week I want to do something different, unique. I'm not going to read from the Risale-i Nur. I'm going to read from one chapter of Hoca Efendi's book. I think this is very important. Muhammed Fethullah Gülen's book, Preserving Our Enthusiasm. You know, sometimes people can, after a long journey, can start to, be weary, run down, and things like that. So in Iman, how do we keep on that right, straight path without, feeling that ulfa, we call it ulfa, monotony. So, and this is a very important topic, I think. So he gives some messages here in regards to this question. In the beginning, we enter the path of service. So serving could serve in the Quran with deep love and enthusiasm, but over time, this passion and excitement can fade, and sometimes one may even feel completely outside of the circle, because there's no guarantees that you will always be on that straight path. And that's why we keep on making that dua, in particular in Surah Al-Fatiha. We keep on saying, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, keep us on the right path. Because this is human nature. It can go up and down. We can do a very zigzaggy, graphic. So it is important to remember some things, and so we can know the methodology of keeping on that straight path. Many times before I explained one thing, when we are on this path, we have to remember that we are not on a 100-meter dash. We are not participating like Usain Bolt, in a 100-meter race. We are in a marathon, because life is a marathon. So we have to, in serving Islam, we have to keep that pace, get that tempo going. You don't need to overdo it, but you don't need to pull to your corner. You get that tempo going, and you keep it going for your entire life. Because serving Islam is until our last breath, It is not something that we do for a certain period of time, and we say, oh, I've done my job. I'm finished now. And Hoca Efendi says, those who say that, they are really finished. If you say you're finished, you're finished. So we need to keep that pace. We can do little, but we need to be consistent. It's imperative. Otherwise, we'll start falling off. And what do you recommend in this regard? They ask him, what do you recommend to these people, who start swaying left and right a bit, slowing down, or even leaving the circle? He says, indeed, many people, when they first encounter the duty of serving the Quran, they find everything very original, new, and fresh. This is what happens. It happens to people who embrace Islam recently too, because everything is very original for them. They are very excited, spiritually as well. Because Allah, the Almighty, with His infinite mercy, is placing a little bit of honey in their mouth, to entice them. But after a while, Allah is saying, now you're part of the test. So you better start, being consistent, being patient, and keeping on the right path. It happens to every human being. So they perceive what they see, hear, and read in a unique way. These experiences deeply affect their hearts, souls, and emotions. However, after a certain period, some people, they may fall into complacency and become victims of familiarity and habituation, even though the truths they engage with remain fresh and original. See, the truths don't change. If a person is changing, dropping off, starting to shake, there's a problem with the person's mind or heart. Otherwise, the truths don't change. They were there when you first, attached yourself to them. They're still there. truth never changes. Even though these truths they engage remain fresh and original, they may no longer experience them with the same freshness and authenticity because they fail to renew themselves. Because Islam is about renewing yourself. You have to keep on renewing yourself. Other concentrations take precedence and priorities shift. So people start having different priorities. And serving Islam becomes second priority, third priority, fourth priority. After a while, they forgot about it. And they start chasing after worldly, materialistic things, which one day will kick them in the bottom and chuck them into the grave. Because you can never, ever get everything you want in this world. It is not possible. You will never, ever truly satisfy yourself. You know, everyone here in this room and those online, you can think of your ambitions in your mind, the things that you really want to achieve. It could be many different things. All of us might have different, objectives in life, whether it's buying a new house or a nice car or whatever it is, Once you achieve that, I guarantee you will not be satisfied. You will be looking for something else. That's human nature. Because you cannot fulfill a human need through materialistic things. It's a reality. Only spirituality can fulfill the spirit. Spirit can only be satisfied with that. That is why the Quran says, "Ala bi zikrillahi tatma'innul qulub." Beware, hearts can only be satisfied with the remembrance of Allah. Nothing else will satisfy the hearts. You might satisfy the body, but it will be very temporal, fleeting. Eventually, you will get sick of whatever it is you're engaged with. So what are we really pursuing? What are we after in life? The first thing we need to review in this matter is our intentions, goals, and priorities. Are we truly prioritizing what Allah prioritizes for us? Are we truly, is our primary goals, objectives, is what Allah has shown to us? This is your priority. And that's very clear in the Quran, isn't it? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Your priority to worship Allah, to serve His religion. These are your priorities as a human being. Everything else are second, third, fourth priorities. Nothing comes before that. What do we desire, seek, and chase after? What are we chasing after in this world? Do you know anyone who chased after something worldly and actually, got a hold onto it and became happy? There's no one like that. There are people who have billions and billions of dollars. Do you think people like, for example, Elon Musk is happy? Do you really think he's happy? No. Material things do not make you happy. It's a reality. Because there's something inside you, you will never fill that emptiness with materialism, with money, with wealth. You will never fill it up. It will always remain empty. Unless you accept, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His path and worship Him. That satisfaction is incomparable to anything. Nothing can be comparable to that. Especially if you're serving. Because usual duties that we do as Muslims, as obligatory duties that we must do, the daily 5 prayers, fasting, and so on, giving zakat, hajj, and things like that, they are obligatory acts anyway upon us individually. But when you serve Allah's religion, you are actually taking on a prophetic duty. Everything changes. So, do we show as much eagerness in the path of upholding the word of Allah as we do in worldly matters. If we do show really that enthusiasm and eagerness to upholding the word of Allah, your entire world changes. Like I've been doing this soft beds and things like that for many years, since the end of 80s, I've been doing this. And I think to myself sometimes, it's got so regular with me, you don't realize it. But when I come together with people, for example, visitors come sometimes, we start talking and things like that. One person is talking about, cars, work, or something like that. All right, okay, it's good, but I can't keep with that for a long time. I got this urge straight away to turn the subject to bring it to our salvation, to bring it to faith, iman. You always get that. That's the only thing that I truly enjoy. My spirit enjoys that. So what do we value the most in life, and what do we strive to achieve? If we truly want true happiness, authentic happiness and satisfaction, as I said, we're not going to find it here. That's in the life after. And there's a way to achieve that. And that's not running after worldly matters. That doesn't mean a believer shouldn't, gain things, shouldn't earn things, shouldn't be wealthy. That doesn't mean that. People sometimes misunderstand that. No. Because the Quran says, take what is due for you from this world as well. Don't neglect the world as well, but this is your main objective. So we got to keep that in mind. So what are our emotions, thoughts, inner desires, excitements, and dreams centered around? Once I explained this incident, this sheikh, famous sheikh, he was a spiritual leader. He had a group of students, and they all, because they are growing next to him, he's teaching them, it was a tech Zawiya, one of the schools, where they stay. It's like a boarding school. And one day they were all saying to him after the Isha prayer, at night, they said, "Oh, Sheikh, we want to see our noble Prophet ﷺ in our dreams." Wouldn't anyone want to see him? Yes. Because he says, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, whoever sees me in a dream, he has seen me. Because Iblis, Shaitan, cannot take his form, cannot deceive you. If you see Prophet Muhammad in your dream, it's him. You're seeing him. That's what he says too. So these students said, we really want to see him, show us, is there any way we can do this, because sometimes some schools, Sufi schools, they say, oh, recite this how many times, do this, and as a result, you might see him in your dream. But this sheikh, this alim said to them, I'll tell you how to achieve this. He said, after tonight, when we finish our conversation, before you go to bed, all of you go to the kitchen and all of you have 1 cup of salt. Eat salt, he said, but no water on top, and then go to bed. They were all shocked. Why is salt, So all of them did what the, alim sheikh said. So they all slept. In the morning, they wake up for the morning prayer. They prayed the morning prayer, and then he asked them, what did you see? So one by one, they're explaining. One of them says, I saw this big waterfall. The other one says, I saw these taps running continuously. All of them had dreams to do with water because they had the salt. So he said, if you had the same passion you have for the water after consuming salt for Prophet Muhammad والسلام, as well, then you would see him in your dream. So it's all about your passion towards it, So if you're sincere. So here we got to think to ourselves, what are our emotions, thoughts, inner desires, excitements, and dreams centered around? What do we dream about? What is our, what makes our inner desire, convinced or satisfied? If what we desperately desire and chase after is not the cause of faith, whatever we are chasing in this world, if it's not because of Iman, not the knowledge of Allah, not the love of Allah, not the passion and longing to meet Him, then we will never escape the exhaustion of the journey. It will be that strenuous journey that we will continue on, but we will never escape that. We will always be chasing after something which is temporal. So if we are desiring something, it should be because of Iman we are desiring that. If we are not waking up in the middle of the night, placing our heads on the prayer mat in the middle of the night, that's tahajjud, and saying, "Oh Allah, I am not important, nor is my worldly life." We are not saying this. Since you created us, you know us, and you created us to know you and to worship you. I beg you, grant me the ability to worship you as you deserve. When Prophet Muhammad والسلام, said Alhamdulillah, when he praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, no words can be enough to praise you. No words. And he said, I praise you the way you praise yourself in the Quran. So maybe when somebody has a time, they can wake up at night. We should, and we can at least offer 2 rakats of tahajjud. There's no one around, no one to see you. There's no ostentation, there's no showing off. It's just you and your Lord, no one else. In silence of the night, on your prayer mat, maybe you can say, Ya Rabbi, I beg you, grant me the ability to worship you as you deserve it. This means that these matters have not yet become our primary concern and priority, unless we are on that path. Marifetullah, one of the keys to, being, on that path consistently, with devotion. Marifatullah means knowing and recognizing Allah. On the other hand, for a person to maintain their love and enthusiasm, both in their personal worship and in the service on the path of Allah, it depends on deepening in divine knowledge, which is Marifatullah. Because the more you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more attached you will become to Him, the more love you will develop to Him, towards Him. Marifatullah is attained, increased, and developed by continuously reading and discussing, as what we are doing now, all the works centered around Iman, engaging in both internal and fusi, you have contemplation inside you, and external, which is afaki contemplation, and transforming every environment we are into a gathering of remembrance. Remember what I said before? Wherever you are, gathered with people, try to transform that environment into a remembrance and conversation about Allah. No matter what you're talking about, what the topic is, in one part of the topic, bring the topic to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, always. Everyone should reassess, all of us, reassess their daily conversations, discussions, agendas, and engagements accordingly. In fact, you know what the Sahabi used to do, the companions of the noble Prophet, they used to take notes, every day. At the end of the day, they used to look at their notes, how much did I do today? What mistakes I made today, so they can correct. They were very sensitive. How relevant are the topics we discuss or engage with in our daily uh, lives to our core concerns? To what extent do we get caught up in current issues that do not directly concern us? I see this too these days. Some people are just obsessed. They get one topic, they're obsessed with it day and night. I see it on the social media. Always about that topic, always about that topic. I saw someone, thinking about the Qiyamah. Think about your own Qiyamah first. You will probably die long before the Qiyamah occurs. Why are you worried about the big Qiyamah? Don't think about your own Qiyamah. So, our daily lives is important. To what extent do we get caught up with these current issues? Whether it's political, whether it's something else. How much of our time do we waste purely out of curiosity? It's good to learn things. It's good to learn knowledge, but how many eggs do the American chickens lay a year? You don't need to know this unless you're in that area, doing statistics. That's not your concern. But if it's something important which is going to benefit you, that's a different story. Just as a weakness of faith lies behind most religious problems, so if there is an issue with our consistency, if we're becoming a wobbly a bit, or in the words of Al Pacino, flaky, that means there's a problem with our faith, iman. That's where the issue is. So a person succumbing to familiarity and habituation is also in a way related to this. Unfortunately, there's a serious weakness of faith in our time, iman. There's a serious issue with iman in our times. It's a reality. And this is not just limited to the atheistic world or deistic world. It's within faiths too. People are having problems with iman. People are becoming materialistic. It is difficult to say that we believe in the unseen realities to the extent that we should. When you think about people like Hazrat Ali, he says, if the veil of materialistic world lifts, and I had a chance to look beyond it, beyond the physical world, into the metaphysical world, he goes, my faith would not increase. He believes as if he's seeing it. That's faith. So beyond this, we have various weaknesses, gaps and flaws. At times, we are crushed under our pride and arrogance. That's a reality too. People can get caught and become crushed under their pride. At other times, we fall victim to our carnal desires. Sometimes it's beautiful to say, if somebody says you're wrong at this, it's beautiful to say, thank you. I didn't know that. I am wrong. Like lately, I've been training myself to do that as well, because it's very hard for the human thing, nature, And sometimes people think they know too much, Like I wrote one tweet the other day. I typed one word wrong. Somebody put it there. That's not how it is. It's like this. I put, I said thank you. I must have made a mistake. It's good to accept that you're wrong. Then you put down your ego, put down your nafs. So at times we are crushed under our pride and arrogance, and at other times we fall victim to our carnal desires, nafs. We struggle to get rid of ourselves, of the spiritual viruses that can tear apart our inner world. Because if our inner world collapses, we'll become a slave of our body, physical body. Whatever its impulses, like animalistic impulse. You know how animals, then when they have an impulse towards something, they will chase it. They can't think about it. Is this correct? Is it not? But humans are not like that. But if you lose that inner thing, then you will be slave to your physical side. You will become a man or woman of the flesh. It's a reality. So, and when we add a weakness of Iman to all of these things, we become like buildings on the verge of collapse, living constantly on the brink of destruction and downfall. When we say, my Lord, Ya Rabbi, our hearts do not tremble with longing. Our relationship with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is not as strong as it should be. From this perspective, strengthening our Iman faith must always remain our foremost and most fundamental concern. Because when we say Allah, if we're not trembling, there's something wrong there. We don't feel it in our hearts. I believe that in order to be a servant worthy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you think about it, I mentioned it a few times, being a servant is even above being a prophet, you know that? That is why in Kalima Shahada, we say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. He is his servant and messenger, but servant comes first. Servanthood is the highest level. So we must make a serious commitment to ourselves and remain steadfast in that promise, because we made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After that, we should live our lives like the insatiable seeker of divine knowledge described by Bediüzzaman Said Nursi in his treatise of Ayet al-Kubra. One day we can have a look at that. From the pages of the books we read, from the grand book of the universe that we observe, and from the gatherings and discussions that we attend, we must pour streams of divine knowledge into our hearts and souls. You see the importance of this sohbet now? How did the noble Prophet ﷺ begin conveying Islam? In houses like this. Through sohbets, weekly sohbets. First, in Mecca, even under great pressure, in hiding, they used to meet at Ibn Arqam's house, in secret. From the pages of the books, yes, we read there, we should transform this knowledge that we learn into love. Burn with the passion of divine love, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yet never find it sufficient. Never find it sufficient. The next day, we must say, is there more? Hel min mazid. You learn, you do, you perform, you worship, and the next day you say, is there any more? Hel min mazid. And repeat the same efforts again and again. Even if we thoroughly examine the cosmic signs and scrutinize them in every detail and uncover paths leading to Allah, from every letter, every word, every line of the book of the universe, we must never feel satisfied. Instead, we should continue searching for new rays, new light, new nur of divine knowledge every single day. Knowledge is very important. That is why, was it a verse or hadith, I can't remember now, if anyone remembers, tell me, the ink flowing from the pen of the alim scholars weighs heavier than the martyr's blood. Yeah. So it's very interesting, isn't it? I think it was a hadith, as I remember. The knowledge is very important. In essence, I'll finish. What's time now? We're going to go and...
8:30.
Okay. We can pray together, inshallah. In essence, over-ambition, excessive passion towards something is not a praiseworthy trait. Humans should not have over-ambition and passion towards something that is not worth it. It is not. So what if they give you the entire world? You think it's worth it? No. When you die, the world will still be there, but you'll be gone. It's not worth it. However, when it comes to the pursuit of divine knowledge, which is Marifatullah, and serving Islam, the Quran, such ambition is commendable. We could be passionate on that as much as we can. The desire that Allah has placed within humans should be directed toward deepening in the knowledge of Allah, burning with love for Him, supporting the cause of exalting His word, which is ilahi kalimatullah, and striving to attain His divine pleasure, because this is human objective. That is why I keep on repeating, when you recite Surah 18, when it says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, we shouldn't automatically think, because the verse says, we have created the human beings in the best of form, best of patterns. That is not an automatic thing. And we know that when you look at the rest of the verse, they can fall below the below, which means we are created with that potential. If we use that potential correctly, then we will rise to that level. Otherwise, we don't automatically become the best, being in the universe. No, you can rise to that level. That is why Bediüzzaman Said Nursi in one Risale, he says, "O human who thinks that he is a human." There's a thing he says like that. And he says, human beings can become a true human with faith, with iman. But without iman, they can fall to the level below the animals. They cannot be even at the level of animals, because he says they will become a vicious beast. Vicious beast. So that was the last slide, inshallah. We can conclude here. And thank you, everyone participating online. I am cutting it a bit short.